Welcome back, YouTube. We are back with another video, and this educational series is going to be, firstly, me speaking a bit louder. I don't know if you could tell in the last video, if you've watched the last video, that is. I was speaking a little bit quieter and it was darker because it was early. Hannah was still asleep in the room just there. So it was like trying to keep quiet, just to let her have a beauty sleep, shall we say. However, she's out. We've got a free house. We can talk loud. Well, she's not asleep. So that's the main reason. But this video is going to be about 10 things I do to make sure I win the day. And I know that sounds a little bit, oh God, another little cringy Instagram influencer wannabe. And when I say win the day, I just mean 10 things that I do that essentially allow me to be the best version that I can of myself each day and get the most out of each day as well. Because I think for a very long time, I used to kind of just wing my days and just kind of show up when and where I had the most energy. Whereas when I set my days up like this, and obviously things that you can implement as well, it allows you just to optimize your days to get the most from them. And you can imagine that if you do this, you know, some people might do this maybe once or twice a week. And what I've learned over especially this past kind of 2 years, is the more that you do this, the more that you kind of create that compounding effect and create that snowball effect, the better things get, the better your physique, the better your business, the better everything. So here's 10 simple things as well. It's nothing like crazy ice baths or meditating at 3 in the morning before shining sunlight up my asshole for like 10 minutes. Nothing drastic, just simple things that you can definitely implement after watching this video today. So the number one, the first one is my wake time. So I wake up at the same time every day. And that sounds relatively easy, okay? But a lot of people, you'll probably, if you're watching this and maybe aren't doing this at the minute, your wake times might look a little bit different depending on, you know, if you've got to get up early for work, whether you've got to get up for the kids, whether you've got something on the weekend or not on the weekend, so you don't have to get up as early. But I found recently, and this is something that I never used to do even up until this year, but even keeping the same wake times on the weekends is a game changer for just general energy and productivity as well. Like there's no reason for me to get up super early Saturdays or Sundays because I don't have any direct check-in work to do. Unless obviously there's any people on prep or photo shoots in which I do get up. But even now I get up anyway and just kind of crack on with the day. I'll still start my day with a walk. I'll still do some, you know, direct work of some form. But it just allows me, and also to add to this as well, as you can see by the slide, that I do use, and I think I might have mentioned this so many times on this channel. So if you are an avid listener or watcher, then I do apologize that I'm banging on about this, but it has been a game changer for me, is my Lumia alarm clock. Okay, and I'm not going to go into the information of what it does, but I've never been a morning person. You know, I remember high school, my mum used to wake me up for school, like, no, please, not today, another 10 minutes, please. And I couldn't speak for the first hour or two of the day because I didn't want to be up. I was such a naggy morning person, whereas now, and I'm not saying now that I just jump out of bed and do a backflip and jump straight into check-ins and onto the treadmill, of course not, but the next step will allow me to explain that in a bit more detail. But why do we want to wake up at the same time? Firstly, is obviously a lot of you will know this, but we do have an internal body clock, which is also known as our kind of circadian rhythm. Circadian meaning circle, and it's like a 24-hour body clock where we, you know, essentially produce hormones at different times of the day. We feel alert when we need to be alert. We feel tired when we need to be tired, etc. And the Lumia alarm clock, I've just told you I'm not going to go into detail of what it does, but I am now. It mimics sunrise, and I actually haven't seen the sunrise for a while now because I do wake up typically around about 10 minutes before the alarm goes off or before the light starts to shine, which is, again, in itself is a really good sign that my circadian rhythm is in a very good place because I'm waking up naturally by myself even when it's been really dark recently. So this has been a game changer for me, and my number one, which I would advise anyone to do, try and keep to a very similar wake time. Even on the weekends if you can. I know sometimes you think, oh, well, I can get an extra few hours sleep here, so what do I choose between? Honestly, I would choose between getting up at the same time. You'll be more appreciative of the extra energy that you've got throughout that day. Equally, just go to bed at the same time as you would within the week as well. And I know for a lot of people that's like, oh, it's boring, I want to go out on the weekend, but this video is to optimize your general health, physique, and lifestyle. So if you want to stay up later and go out drinking and do whatever, then this video ain't for you. Number two is movement. I always, and this is one of the biggest things for me, start my day with a 30-minute walk and 1 litre of water with some electrolytes in as well. This just basically kick starts my body to kind of almost tell it, right, we're off, we're up, we're running. And this essentially, obviously, firstly elevates my heart rate, it gets blood flowing around the body, and it gives me 30 minutes to focus on myself before I focus on, my clients and my work. And that in itself just allows me to give so much more to my guys on the team, and also, just throughout the day in terms of energy. And it just helps me kind of clear my head. First thing in the morning, no one's ever like, let's get to work. I mean, there might be the odd few people, but this is more like, okay, I'm setting myself up for the day. Also, it banks me 3,500 steps per day as well, before I've even sat at my desk. So that's obviously a huge thing. And obviously hydration first thing in the morning is a given with electrolytes, because it does allow you to hydrate properly as well after not having drank for several hours, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours potentially. So you're always going to be in a dehydrated state when you wake up. So you want to make sure that you do hydrate as soon as you wake up. Number 3 is planning. I always have what I'm doing the next day, pre-planned the day before, sometimes even the week before. So I always use Friday mornings as a planning for the week in advance. And then I'll always write, and you can see this all the way up until, or all the way back till January the 1st this year, what I'm doing the next day or on that day. And I'll plan that the night before, because firstly, it kind of declutters my brain, and it allows me to just have a lot more clarity on what I'm going to be doing that day, as opposed to waking up and being like, oh shit, I need to do this. Oh shit, I need to do that. So that just gives me so much more structure as well. So it's like, okay, so I've got check-ins to do first. I've got this guy to set up second. I've got a call here. I've got to do this here, da, da, da. You get the gist. And it just, like I say, it helps me not procrastinate as well. Where you're like, oh, well, I've done that task, so I'll go on my phone. Oh shit, there's 20 minutes gone. You know how easy it is just to doom scroll on your phone after you go on it. And then by that time, you've probably wasted up to 60, 90 minutes just scrolling through your phone, where you could be getting things done. So that's one of my biggest tips in terms of like productivity. Structure as well. So obviously where possible, I allocate time blocks for everything. And I say this to all my guys on the team, that I've got a calendar, and a lot of my guys now have a calendar as well. And it maps out their every single move, from each meal to when they're going for walks, for when they're working, for when they've got calls for their own work, for when they're going to bed. And for a lot of people outside looking in, it's like, that is so boring, that's so structured. You're not in the army, you don't need to have a regimented life like that. As I keep saying, if you're one of these people, this channel probably isn't for you. This is to get the most out of your life, your physique, and just generally your health and well-being as well. So time blocking allows me to be, again, a lot more productive, and it allows me to be a lot more consistent with things like energy as well. I know every kind of 2.5 to 3 hours I'm going to be having a meal. I know when I'm going to be training. I know when I'm going to be working, and be specific with the work as well. Like for the first, 3 to 4 hours of the day, that'll be direct check-in work. Then I might move on to other tasks like setting people up, booking in calls, changing programs for people, updating people's programs, etc. So, and knowing exactly what work block. You see that all the time on Instagram nowadays, don't you? Work block one. I've done it myself before. I am guilty of that. Work block. Imagine a postman doing like his first few rounds around a block of houses, posting letters, and then putting on his Instagram story, work block 1 done. Just wouldn't happen, would it? Online coaches do it for some reason, I'm not sure why. Work block 1 done. Anyway, and then even like this, filming this YouTube right now was planned into my day today between the hours of 11:30 and 12. Here we are doing it. So again, predictability equals better adherence and routine, and it just gives you so much, again, structure being the key one. Number 5 is an exact same training time per week. And this was a lot more dialed in during prep, don't get me wrong. A little bit more flexible now, just because I want to train with clients a little bit more. I've got things on the weekends where I can't train sometimes, so I move things around. But typically I will train Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 1:30 every single day. That is pretty common. It'll be 9 out of 10 times I do that. And then again, this allows your body to be ready for that training session. If you're training in the morning, and then you're training at night, and then you're training in the afternoon, and then you have 2 rest days back to back, or 3 rest days back to back. Like, I know and I understand that people have lives outside of the gym, and things crop up where they do have to change their training times and days. And this is just real life. I'm fortunate that I can pretty much train at the same time every day, every single week. However, this is beneficial because it's just going to allow your body to then, again, going back to the circadian rhythm, it'll be like, oh, okay, it's 12:30. We're eating our pre-workout meal. We know that we need to be primed, full of energy, ready for 1:30 to start the session. Okay, and it becomes part of your routine as well, and it means that you don't miss it. Number 6 is organization. So very similar to the writing the to-do list the night before or the day before. but actually keeping on top of my to-do list as well. So not just writing loads of shit out randomly that needs doing. I'll do it in order of what needs to be done throughout that day in, you know, chronological order as well. So I'm not going to write training at the start when training would be midday, or I'm not going to record this video first thing in the morning when obviously my clients need their check-ins first. So I do it in strategic order in terms of when things need to be done, and I just make sure that I'm taking it off as I go through, because I don't know about anyone else, but I love writing a good list, and there's no better satisfaction than ticking it off when you've done it and looking at the end of the day and being like, yeah, I fucking did that. I conquered that day. And albeit some days it's just like check-ins, like yesterday, check-ins, invite new members to group chat and send capture call link in the group chat. It was a pretty easy day yesterday because it was a rest day as well. But again, check-ins obviously takes up a bigger chunk of the day. So yeah, just reviewing the task daily, always making sure that I'm moving forwards. And again, a lot of people watching say, oh, look at you, always moving forwards, always doing well. Don't get me wrong, I'm being 100% transparent. There's days where I'm like, oh, fuck, this feels like it's a bit more of a task today. Especially during dieting phases, of course. Not so much recently because I've got more food in me, I've got more energy. So yeah, it's relevant to where you are currently in terms of your phase, I guess, as well. Number 7, and you're probably taken away from this by now that a lot of this is coming down to structure and routine. So maybe that should be the thumbnail title. Meal timings, keeping consistent meal times and keeping on top of my daily supplementation as well. So again, very similar, going back to the circadian rhythm. If your body can be in a predictable environment, it knows when it's going to eat, it's going to be better for digestion, it knows when it needs to digest food, it knows when to kind of have and maybe not have as much energy. And obviously just keeping on top of sups as well. Supplementation, I always try and stick at the same time per day as well, in regards to my vitamins, my minerals, obviously any intra-workout, obviously during the workout, and like, you know, PM supplements as well, like ashwagandha, magnesium glycinate, etc. All relevant to the time of the day. You know, I'm not going to take my ashwagandha supplements, which is like a promoter to push you more into the parasympathetic nervous system state to help you unwind, de-stress, and kind of get into a better night's sleep. I'm not going to take my ashwagandha first thing in the morning before check-ins when it's needed post-workout and before bed. So just keeping in a consistent routine with that as well. Just to ensure that I stick to, you know, my goals, my vision, and obviously mitigating any form of regression or just energy dips from day to day as well. If my meal timings are a little bit all over the gaff, expect to feel energy drops, you know, consistently. And again, going back to like the muscle building foundations and retaining muscle as well, we want to make sure that we are having consistent MPS spikes, muscle protein synthesis spikes throughout the day. So if we're going large chunks, say for example, we have our first meal at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then our next meal's not coming till 1 p.m. in the afternoon, that's like 5 hours where you're not getting a spike of protein, which means you're going to be pushed more into that catabolic state, which when we're trying to build or retain muscle, and obviously maybe in a diet and trying to stay full and satiated, is not ideal. So in terms of keeping your meal timings consistent, try and roughly keep them every kind of 2.5 to 3 hours. And if you're having 3 meals a day at the minute, you might want to look at breaking their meals into smaller meals and having 5 across the space of the day instead. That's going to be better for your overall physique goal or journey. Number 8, mini breaks as well. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I work from, you know, as soon as I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, all the way through till 5:30 at night. I rarely get past 30 minutes of work directly before I have to like either go for a little wander around the house or on, as this captions or slide says, go and annoy Hannah. If she's in the house, I'll go and pester her for a second and peck her head. I can't. I think I've got mild kind of like ADHD, to be honest. I find it hard to, unless there's no distractions around. I'll keep my phone in a separate room, and that's another one that we can add on to this list is if you are working, keep your phone in a different room and turn it on Do Not Disturb, like I've done now, because it just avoids any distraction. But I will, you know, if I'm like doing a good check-in block and it's like, oh, okay, getting motivated, going, you know, banging through one after another, that happens most of the time, but I'm not going to lie. There are times where I'm like, oh, this guy needs his whole food plan changing, or oh, this guy needs a whole new, whatever it might be. You know, when it's a bigger task, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yep, I'm motivated to do it. As soon as it comes through, I do it straight away. I'll go for a little walk, you know, either around the house, around the block, go and peck Hannah's head, like I say, or just come away from the screen for a minute, because it then almost kind of resets my focus and energy levels to then go back and do it again at a higher standard. If I just ploughed through my check-ins from, like I say, 6 in the morning till, you know, 1 in the afternoon, back to back to back to back to back, the last person's check-ins were going to be like, oh, hi mate, thanks for this week's check-in. I want to be giving my most amount of energy to each and every single client as best as I can. And it's like, it's doing myself and my clients a disservice if I'm just going back to back to back to back, 25, 30 check-ins a day. Just wouldn't be fair on the second half of them 25 to 30 clients, because they just wouldn't be getting the same amount of energy or focus from me. So this is why I do mini breaks as well. And obviously this can be relevant for yourself. If you are maybe sat at a desk, just get up and go for a walk every now and then, as long as you don't have like an absolute knobhead of a boss who's going to be like, sit down. Or, obviously if you've got a job where you are required to maybe be a little bit more present for a prolonged amount of time, like a doctor, like a surgeon, for example, you're probably not going to be able to just walk off mid-surgery. But most people probably will be able to have short breaks every now and then. I'm not saying to go and sit and spark up a cigarette and have a coffee and chill out for 15 minutes. I just mean literally walking downstairs, a few laps around the kitchen, back upstairs. That's all I mean by that. I don't mean literally just going and sacking it off and going playing FIFA for an hour. Number 9, very similar to the number 1, the wake up time. Make sure you have a very consistent bedtime as well. And I know for a lot of people this is very boring. And even Hannah now, after knowing me for 7 years, still says I'm a baby. She said the other day, we're getting married next year, by the way, I'm getting married to a baby. Because I want to go to bed I want to start getting ready for bed at 9:30 and get into bed for 10 or 9:30, 10. So I'm literally getting married to a baby. I say, Hannah, this baby is, trying to work hard. He's trying to do his best for his clients and for you, essentially, at the end of the day. So, albeit you are marrying a baby, I'm sorry, but I want to go to bed at the same time, I want to wake up at the same time. And she understands now. She understands that I do have a lot more kind of energy and focus when I get up consistently, when I go to bed consistently. And I myself will tell a huge difference, even if we go out for a night out, even if we're not drinking, for example, and we just get back a little bit later, and then we end up sleeping in the next morning a little bit longer because I just feel tired and sluggish. I can imagine that's how most people feel most days that don't have a consistent bedtime and wake time. Okay, and I understand fully that some people's shift patterns are different. Some people have more maybe responsibilities than I do. Kids getting up in the night and, like I say, just requirements in terms of their shifts. They might start earlier one night, they might start later one night. And I do appreciate and respect that massively. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to do this, because not everyone can physically. However, there are a lot of things that you can do to help aid a better night's sleep, such as just dimming the lights before bed, not going on your phone right up until bed, looking right close to your eyeballs, blue light blockers on will make a big difference for this. And even just watching TV, like I can tell a difference when I don't wear my blue light blockers and I do. Because basically if you're getting stimulation through artificial light, blue light, and it's going into the iris, it's signaling kind of, it's brain activity and stress responses to your brain. It's just going to be alert and like wired almost. And you're trying to sleep and you've got all this activity in your brain. It's just hard. So just almost go into like caveman mode for the last hour of the day. Lights off, candles lit maybe, maybe not candles, but just low lights to get away from screens. If you want a better night's sleep and you want to feel productive, you want to build the best physique that you can, and you want to train well, just get a little bit more adult-like with your sleep and your sleep hygiene, most importantly. And again, obviously this goes down to the bedtime. This last one is just keeping the same bedtime every night. But obviously, going back to the previous slide, doing a nice form of routine before bed. And again, I'm not saying breath work or meditating or journaling, just literally, like, I don't do any of that. It's 9 o'clock, I will put my phone away. If I urgently need to go on my phone, I've got blue light blockers, which I'll leave a link in the description below, which is 20 quid. If I need to, which I rarely do at 9 o'clock onwards. And then between 9 and 10, yes, I will still watch TV and Netflix for maybe 30 minutes with Hannah, with the blue light blockers on, and then we'll start getting ready to bed. And my routine for bed isn't like, time for bed. I simply load the dishwasher, get my electrolytes ready for the next morning, get my clothes ready for the next morning so I can just jump out of bed and put them on and go onto the treadmill, and then brush my teeth. Not a fancy routine, very, very simple. Like I say here, sometimes I do go to 10 o'clock if I am feeling rebellious. So yeah, winning your day, I'm not saying to be doing all this crazy shit, it's literally just very simple things, but when you do it time and time again, you'll see such a drastic improvement within not only your physique, your life, your mood, your energy, your digestion, how much muscle you can build, how much body fat you can strip. I'm not just saying this to kind of create a cool, gimmicky style video. It's genuinely changed my life, and I will say that hand on heart. So yeah, winning your day starts with structure, not motivation. If you're kind of waking up and hopefully today is the day that I have a really good session, or hopefully today is the day that I have more energy for work, it's not going to come. You need structure. And if you can consistently master your daily routine, your results in and out of the gym will skyrocket. Okay? Thank you for watching this 20-minute video. If you've liked this video, as always, please leave a comment. Subscribe if you are not subscribed, which a lot of you aren't, and I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.